Hi, my name's Chris, and I'm a failed YouTuber.
How are you doing, YouTube? I don't vlog enough, I realized.
It is the most specialist day on the face of the earth. It is Janelle's birthday.
Happy birthday.
Spent at least $14,000 on these girls.
Just jumped into your head.
What just happened? I'm gonna teach you how to play some b-ball.
So how did I get here? Well, as far back as I can remember, I've always wanted to make movies. I've always been very anxious and very shy, definitely an introvert, especially when I was younger. When I was younger, I had a really hard time making friends, and as sad as it sounds, movies kinda were my friends. I didn't have any siblings, my mom and dad both worked a lot, so I was alone a lot. But whenever I was alone and bored, I would turn on a movie and just forget about everything and have the time of my life. At a very young age, I became obsessed with movies and the idea of making movies. I loved watching the behind the scenes making of a movie almost more than watching the actual movie sometimes. But I now feel really bad for the kids that were forced to hang out with me because I very quickly decided that I'm a director and we are going to make moving pictures, and I didn't care if they wanted to participate, they were going to participate. They know who they are and I love them very much. Thank you guys for dealing with my insanity. But I just wanted to make movies so badly as a child. It's really all that I thought about. And I would get so sad because I realized that I was too young to make a movie. I also had no money and zero resources, and there was just no real way for me to make a movie. But then one day as I got even older, I discovered YouTube, which blew my mind and changed everything for me. Before YouTube, if I made a video with some friends that I worked really hard on, there was not a great way to share that with people. And it seemed like it would be impossible to share it with the world, like a movie in theaters or shows on television. There was no way to do that. But then YouTube came along and gave you this platform where you could make essentially any video you wanted to, upload it to the platform, and then potentially someone from the other side of the planet could watch it. The whole idea of YouTube was just so exciting and groundbreaking to me, I became obsessed with it. And I saw people creating things on YouTube that looked like it belonged on TV, at least to me at the time. There was specifically a channel called Black Box TV, which created horror and sci-fi content that was really well done. And Black Box TV would sometimes release behind the scenes of their videos, and it always just looked like a small group of seemingly friends creating this television quality content together. And it was just so exciting to me to see these people creating the content that they wanted to make without needing the approval of some producer or some studio in Hollywood. But also there was a lot of people creating a lot of different kind of content that really inspired me. People like Shay Carl, Kasim G, Timothy De La Ghetto, Live Lava Live, Shane Dawson, and many more that I'm forgetting. But it was such an exciting time for me. It felt like anything was possible. It felt like the future was now. And YouTube just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. There started to be YouTube conventions called VidCon that I attended. And VidCon pulled huge crowds of people. And it was such an incredibly exciting time because you had all of these incredibly talented artists, whether they were making short films or music or whatever, who were creating the content they wanted to make, getting a fan base, and then getting to go to this convention and meeting their fans in person. I fell deeply in love with YouTube, and I'm personally still so in love with YouTube. It seems to be the only real place in the modern day that encourages horizontal video, which then encourages short films and story-driven content. But outside of filmmaking, I did find a few vloggers that I liked quite a bit as well. There was something really exciting to me about a good vlog because you got to take a peek behind the curtain and look into these people's lives. Vlogs are kind of like a reality show, but much more personal than a reality show could ever be. Because it's just a person who takes any camera that's available to them, which nowadays could be your phone, and you just tape yourself whenever you want, edit it together and upload it, and it's just this amazing personal thing that I fell in love with. So while I was still at the time too young and broke to afford a film camera to be able to make a short film, I did have access to a camera, and I did start vlogging.
And it has
The oldest vlog that I currently have on my YouTube channel is from 2010, but the crazy part is that is definitely not the oldest video that I made for YouTube. I've just deleted a lot of the older ones out of embarrassment. But one of the main goals when I started vlogging was to have these moments to look back on 20, 30, 40 years later from now. Kind of like what my parents did with me with their photo albums, except I would have videos, entire moments to show. And now as an adult, I really wish that I wouldn't have deleted any of the old videos because those were memories. And I don't know when it happened, but at some point I realized that these people making content on YouTube were actually getting paid to do this.
So my main channel this year ended up making $145,631. It averages over $10,000 a month.
Last year was my first full year on YouTube, and in that 1 year, I made $613,960.75.
The idea that someone like me who loves creating content just for the fun of it could actually turn that into a living was the most exciting thing in the world to me. Getting into Hollywood and making movies still seemed impossible, but making videos on YouTube seemed possible to me. I really felt like if I worked hard enough for long enough that I could turn this into a living. So I dedicated the next several years of my life to creating content on YouTube, and nothing came of it. But I eventually started going to film school, got a retail job, and I thought, okay, if I set aside some money to buy better equipment and learn the skills of the craft, that okay, then the content will get better and people will like it more. But no matter how hard I worked, I never got any more views and it never went anywhere. And it was devastating for all my hard work to not really pay off.
You gotta just take a deep breath and give up. The system is rigged against you. Your hard work and talent will not pay off.
The only other dream that I had in life at the time, since I was a kid really, was to be an actor, but that also wasn't happening. And as I got older while I was in film school, I eventually got my own apartment, and then I had to pay bills for an apartment, and I very quickly realized that I wasn't going to be able to dedicate my time to either of these things, because neither acting or making YouTube videos were paying my bills, and I was kind of forced to just abandon both of them completely. I had to give up on my dreams. And I was pretty devastated about it for a while, but I was still in film school and I wasn't giving up the idea of making movies in some way, shape, or form. My father knew that getting work as an editor seemed much more possible than getting work as an actor, so he started pushing me in that direction. And I did go to film school for 4 years, and I ended up graduating with a Bachelor of Fine Arts.
Christopher Breitinger, cum laude.
And thanks to that film school and a friend at the time, I ended up getting my first editing job. It was a very small startup company where they were creating a web series for YouTube. And what I mean very small, I mean there were only 2 editors and we were put in the basement of some guy's house. Granted, I was really lucky and ended up loving this person and everyone involved with the show. But I soon realized that I really did not enjoy editing someone else's content at all. But one day they were going to film an episode of the show and the second cameraman just did not show up for some reason. The film school that I went to, regardless of what your emphasis was, you had to learn a little bit of everything. So I had taken the introductory cinematography course and knew the basics of how to film. So I offered to fill in for the cameraman that didn't show up and they let me. I don't think I showed how nervous I was, but I was nervous literally all of the time and still am. So they probably just thought I was being normal. I started filming more and more at this job and got really close to one of the actors there named Alex. And several years later, Alex decided he wanted to start making his own content for Instagram and reached out to me. And when I showed up to film with him for the first time, he was filming with a content creator named Brandon Calvillo. And so I met Brandon that day, and then we became friends, and then we started filming stuff together. I then got really excited about creating stuff with Brandon because he really wanted to create feature films as well. So together we made several short films that I'm still really proud of. And then on one of these short films, his friend and producer, Kat, ended up somehow getting Shane Black to act in the short film. If you don't know who Shane Black is, he acted in the original Predator movie. He directed Iron Man 3, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, The Nice Guys. He is an incredibly talented and well-known filmmaker, and that was insane for me. It was so cool to me that Shane Black was willing to act in this zero-budget short film just for fun. And he was so down for anything. We literally threw fake blood in his face, and he was totally cool with it. It's funny because I thought I would never be able to be a cinematographer or cameraman of any sort, because while I was in film school taking the introductory cinematography course, there were so many numbers being thrown around. I just remember hearing 24 frames per second, 60 frames per second, 1/50 shutter speed, aperture 2.8. Your shutter speed should be roughly double your frames per second, and all of this went so far over my head at the time. I'm always someone who really struggled at math and numbers in general, so hearing all these numbers numbers was my nightmare. And film school actually convinced me that I could not do this, that I was not capable of it. But the more that I started to do it in real life, I realized, oh, there's not that many numbers. You're not really doing math equations to figure any of these numbers out. I mean, some cinematographers do. I wish I had that ability, but I do not have a numbers brain and I can't do that. But all that is to say, you actually don't have to be good at numbers and math to be a camera person. So if that's something that happened to be holding anyone else back like it was myself, don't let it. But thanks to my friend Alex, I was able to get my first ever clients. People that would come back to me again and again, mainly to create content for Instagram, and I had a blast doing it, and I still do. And I still feel like to this day that I owe so much to Alex, so thank you so much, Alex, for everything. I appreciate you so much, love you, brother. And as I started to get slowly better and better at my craft through word of mouth, my clients would just say very kind things about me. I started getting more and more clients. And it sort of just had this snowball effect where this became my job almost accidentally, if I'm being honest. Again, I originally went to film school to be an editor, not to be a cinematographer. I feel so lucky and fortunate and blessed to be able to do something for a living that I actually enjoy doing, that I actually love. Because my father didn't have that. When I was younger, my father would come home so upset all of the time after work. He just hated his job, but he kept going because he knew he had to provide for his family, and I love and respect him so much for that. But I knew at a young age that I did not want to do that. I did not want to work a job that I hate. If I was able to avoid that, I was going to do everything in my power to avoid that. And while I'm not that young anymore and I don't get paid that well, I am able to pay rent for my apartment solely doing this thing that I love. And one of the craziest parts of this job to me is that, if you remember from earlier, one of the YouTubers that I looked up to was Shane Dawson. I loved his videos, I loved his content, I loved that he was roughly my same age. He inspired me in so many ways, and now this cinematography job has somehow led back to me filming for Shane Dawson, the person that inspired me when I was much younger to start all of this. The full story of how Shane and I got to work together is actually quite long and complicated and spans years of time, but maybe I'll make that its own video and tell the full story one day if anyone's interested, if anyone would like to hear that. And that has been an absolutely crazy full circle moment for me. How many people get to be inspired by somebody and the content that they put out into the world, and then years later get to create more of that content that inspired you with them? But not only that, somehow filming for Shane has led me to become a co-host of his podcast with his husband and his brother.
I'm raw dogging it. I'm just going in. I'm barebacking. You know?
Dangerous.
So
you got a sheath.
So Chris, from his moan, you can tell. Chris is the gay one. No. Well, there's you. Okay, yeah. Chris is also gay. Chris, who are you?
Hi, I'm gay. And as of today, while I'm filming this, it's been over a year since we started the podcast, and I can't believe it still. And thank you so much to Shane, Ryland, and Jared for allowing me to be a part of it. But now I have so many supportive people telling me that I should make YouTube videos.
Catch Chris vlogging 2023.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. I really do need to start, and that's gonna give me motivation. So
And now the pressure's on because we're f***ing waiting.
And it truthfully is really exciting, but scary for me. How do I start all of this again? Should I start all of this again? The only thing that I do know is that younger me would have killed for this opportunity. So I think I am gonna start making YouTube videos again, and I think I'm gonna start pursuing acting again. These are dreams that I gave up on, but I never stopped thinking about them. They never stopped for a moment being my biggest passions in life, and were always in the back of my mind. So maybe this is meant to be. That's how I'm gonna take it. So I'm hoping that this video can be a positive message to my younger self and to anyone watching, that while life can be tough and it often doesn't go how we want it to go, if you keep working hard and you don't give up, it does eventually pay off. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it.